Thank yous that we want to start with. We want to thank Allie Buis because this day just wouldn't have been possible without her. And she was responsible for more than just today because she hired me where I work today, where I'm still happily employed. Shard Snyder and A Census Company. Yeah. But without her organization and planning, this day couldn't have gone as smoothly as it has. And of course, we want to thank our flower girl and ring bearer, Meredith Buis and Silas Wilsford. We are so glad to have two children that wanted to be involved in our special day.
Says next, we want to thank everyone who is in our wedding parties. Our lives would not be the same without each one of them. There's a lot of time, money, and stress that goes into this that neither of us really understood until we were in the throes of planning. It made us so grateful they wanted to be standing by our side. Next, we want to thank all four of our parents. Without their contributions, our dream wedding and small details wouldn't have been able to come alive. Our parents raised us wonderfully, and nothing can ever be truly enough to thank them for the decades of sacrifice. Lastly, we want to thank each one of you for coming tonight. For those who traveled, spent money on new dresses or clothing, staying in Houston Woods, or just taking their time to come amidst the craziness of this world, we are so glad everyone made it here.
All right, so I have a pretty specific memory from 2019. Every year, Austin's family does something called cousin camping with his extended family. And my first year was in 2019, and it was a perfect weekend. But I remember our drive home because I, very randomly, of course, as I do, said, we're going to be married before the next cousin camping. And Austin was shocked, of course. He went very quiet, looked around and said, and then reminded me that we weren't engaged currently, and that most weddings don't happen within a year. And to be fair, my proposal was still a couple months out at that point, so I kind of accepted he was right, for now. But then COVID, of course, came in and changed absolutely everything. There was no cousin camping in 2020, and now we are married before the upcoming one. So I was right. I always knew in my heart, though, that Austin was my person, the one that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. Choosing someone to marry is a big decision, but for me, it was the easiest one I've ever made. One of the things that helped guide me to my decision to marry Austin was looking to the people I've always been closest with, Mom and Dad. I mean, you're my best friends. For those who don't know my parents, Mark and Gina, they're about to celebrate their 30th anniversary this coming year, and they just celebrated their 29th. And there hasn't been a single day of my life where they haven't been in love in the same home and raised me. And they taught me not just how to love, but how to be best friends with the person that I chose. And I will forever be grateful for their support and their love that they have shown me my entire life. As Austin and I grow into the future, we can only hope to mold our marriage after yours.
Like Mark said, I look towards the numerous examples of healthy and positive relationships within my own family to assess my values and opinions towards marriage. My Aunt Brenda and Uncle Kurt, Aunt Suzanne and Uncle Bill, and Aunt Carrie and Uncle Keith have been together or married for over 2 decades, all of which I remember. My great Aunt Mary and Uncle Lou are now celebrating their 50th anniversary this year. I've witnessed firsthand the highs and lows of these relationships and always saw how communication and keeping your head held high can push you through anything. But the most important relationship to examine was that of my parents. My parents, Amy and Greg, celebrated their 30th anniversary back in January of this year. They explicitly and implicitly taught me what to strive for in marriage throughout all those years. I found a partner who loves me. I found a partner who can communicate. Mark and I have rarely have heated arguments because Mom and Dad taught me how to never let it get to that point. I see our strengths and weaknesses and combine them to something even more beautiful, and how not having everything in common can be more beautiful than not. Without all they've done throughout the years, I don't believe I would have found someone as perfect as Mark. I kept my standards high and won my Prince Charming in the end, and I only have my parents to thank for that.
So now we want to get to a couple of pretty special people here tonight. Grammy and Poppy. I was introduced to them as Tom and Karen. but 4 years have made you extra grandparents to me. They are here for me in all the ways that my grandparents were, and all the conversations and dinners that they took me in for at their home will be cherished forever. Without them, I wouldn't have enjoyed some of the best homemade bread. And with Grammy doing our alterations, that bread was threatening our waistlines too. You have to edit that.
As for those who don't know, next month is their 60th anniversary. Less than 5% of marriages last 50 years, so I can't imagine how small that number becomes in 60 years. There are 2 words to describe it, the first one being beautiful. It's not lost on me how fortunate I've always been that all 4 of my grandparents are still with me on my wedding day in my mid-20s. There are so few people I know who are able to say that. I'm equally lucky that they are here and in good health. The likelihood of a celebration for their 60th to the magnitude in which they deserve might not happen because of COVID. I wanted to take this moment to celebrate and honor their incredible achievement in our own way. Grammy, okay. I see a lot of myself within you. The way you are passionate about the smallest things, such as deer that comes into your backyard, is the same way I'm passionate about every Lady Gaga song or Marvel movie. Your ability to extend your endless love to everyone in your life, even if it's hard, is something I've always strived to replicate. You've captured so much of your shared life with Poppy in photos, and they all tell your story beautifully. I love looking at them and catching glimpses of things I have not seen or was alive to know. It helped me feel connected to those we have lost and helped remind me of their impact on my life. And lastly, your ability to talk about most anything for hours is something that I've always been told has come from you. But I wouldn't change it for the world. Poppy, I strive to be the man you have represented in our family for so long. You've been both loved and respected by everyone that knows you. Growing up, I remember the shaving kits you taught Garrett and I to use. I remember walking to the park by your house or the ice cream place after dinner. You've been steering the ship in the family for as long as I can know, and I am forever indebted to the lessons that they taught me. In my mind, you're the epitome of what a man should aspire to be. It's been passed on from you to Dad and now to me, and maybe one day in the future, our child. Together, you both have a treasured love story that not even the movies could hold a candle to. You show me what true loyalty and consistency look like. You show me that love doesn't have to have an expiration date, and something big can be built from the ground up.
And the second word that we could use to describe a marriage like yours is fascination. It fascinates both Austin and I to think of what our lives could be like that far down the line. It's fascinating that so much shared history can become so many people's personal history. We are fascinated by all that you continue to do. And while our words could never capture all that is needed to be said, would you do us the great honor tonight by honoring your marriage by dancing to Fascination, your first dance song by Nat King Cole again.